like that movie. It was scary.
Hello, horror fans. Today we'll be talking about Scream Legacy, a Scream fan film released about 10 months ago under ZenHouse Studios, written and directed by Zach Salazar. I am very sorry if I mispronounced that. And it's set in Woodsboro 22 years after the events of Scream 3 and ignores Scream 4 and Scream 5 or Scream 2022. I want to start this off by saying the film quality and cinematography of the whole thing is shot very nicely and looks very good. So, starting off with the beginning of the film starts off in an office when a Dr. Rosenbaum gets a strange call. And this strange call is Ghostface. While not voiced by Roger L. Jackson, I think it does a terrific Ghostface voice, sounding somewhat reminiscent of the voice used in Scream the TV series at times, so I really enjoyed it. This fan film is an hour and 5 minutes long, which I find to be somewhat of a perfect time length for a fan film. You know, it does the trick keeping you engaged and not making you lose interest or get bored throughout. So, this doctor gets taken out along with the janitor in the opening scene. I must say the scenes with Ghostface are choreographed nicely, and it looks movie grade. I mean, it looks like a Scream film when Ghostface is on the screen. Red Right Hand is also in a driving scene, which I'm not sure if they got the rights to it or what, but, you know, Red Right Hand being in it really makes it feel like a Scream film. You know, Red Right Hand was in all of the Scream films except the fourth due to the studio not getting rights to it. And right after this scene, there is some nice shots of, you know, I'm not too sure where, but drone shots of some roads and, you know, scenery, which makes it feel very homey and nice, and it's just shot very well. So we are following Sid's daughter, Sidney Prescott's daughter. Her name is Katie, and in the beginning we are introduced to them in a bar, and we are introduced to Katie, Katie's best friend, and Katie's boyfriend Daniel. So Katie and her best friend and Daniel are just having some drinks, reminiscing, figuring out how long Katie's going to be back. And while yes, some of the acting may be considered a bit silly at times, or even a bit, you know, corny, maybe, you know, you can't really be picky, because, you know, this is at least the first Scream fan film I've seen that I have genuinely enjoyed and looked at as definitely could be a great fan film for any Scream fan to watch. All of the characters are very relatable. We have a podcaster in there, kind of reminiscent to Noah from season 1 and 2 of Scream the TV series, which is very nice. So the way we get introduced back to Scream 3 is with one of our main detectives in the film, Detective Castillo. They stated that he was under Kincaid from the third film working on the Roman Bridger case, which I love how they tied it back. It sounds very, very fluent and not forced or anything. I think it's a very good way to call back to the original films. The second act has our detectives going to the therapist's office, Dr. Rosenbaum, and figuring out that Rosenbaum had been Sidney Prescott's therapist for a couple of years, and they find out that the files for Sidney were stolen, presumably by our killer, and also the podcaster gets killed with a pretty good chase scene at times. There was a fridge scene that's a little questionable with the acting, but nonetheless, I still very much enjoy these scenes with Ghostface in it, and I feel that it's a breath of fresh air, and it looks very nice for a fan film. So this kind of leads into our third act, give or take, and it is Katie arriving at her grandpa's house, which presumably is her childhood home. You can see pictures of Sidney Prescott hanging up, and she starts to flip through this photo book with her and Sid in it. So, just establishing that relationship so we can really feel like, that's Sid's daughter, which I find's pretty nice. They didn't really force it too hard, and they made it seem pretty natural, and I do think this story definitely could be adapted into a full-length movie, if it wasn't for the current Scream movies. And this third act has most of our detectives dying, and Katie's ex-boyfriend showing up being a red herring, just like Billy was climbing through the window. Katie's ex comes through the front door, and they get trapped in the garage. Katie's ex gets knocked off, and eventually it just is Katie and Detective Castillo for the unmasking, and it turns out all of this was her best friend's boyfriend, who is stated to be Billy Loomis's brother, Daniel, which I thought this was actually pretty nice. It definitely could have happened. I think it is definitely doable. I do think that they should have showed him more, because Daniel, which is the best friend's boyfriend, Daniel Loomis, they could have showed him more because he's only in 2 other scenes besides this unmasking. So, it's kind of easy to predict that he was Ghostface. They could have, done a little more building with him, but I think nonetheless it is a great unmasking and a very good killer, and they end up shooting Daniel, and he does the little they always come back and pops his head up like Billy, and then gets finished off, and the fan film ends with Katie hugging her now dead best friend's little sister. And then that is the end. So my final thoughts on Scream Legacy. I believe this is a very, very good fan film, and possibly the best Scream fan film we have gotten up until now. I think the characters are relatable and fun, and the way they tied it back to Woodsboro and the original killers was very nice, and I think that if you love Scream, check it out. It's an hour and 5 minutes long. Jamie Kennedy actually commented on the video, so I mean, if Jamie Kennedy, who played Randy, is checking it out, then why can't you? It's a very, very good time, and on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give it a solid 8. I will have the video linked in the description if you want to check it out, and I will see y'all on the next video.